Removing artificial barriers to licensure could reduce teacher shortages. When I first became a teacher educator over a decade ago, I worked with a teacher residency program as an evaluator during their selection days. Candidates came from all over the country to rank in the program. They did a series of detailed activities, including a sample lesson in front of the students. I still remember an incredible young black woman who presented her English lesson to a group of high school students. When he entered, the atmosphere changed. The students were engaged and her lessons were relevant and detailed. The teacher and principal who was next to me said, "It was too complicated." Later, I found out that the young woman was not accepted into the program, and the same teacher, coach and director told me she couldn't pass Praxis. I remember him throwing up his hands as if to say, "What can we do?" It was as if the exam was the last measure of his qualification as a teacher. Barriers affect candidates of color. Gloria Ladson-Billings, known for her work in culturally relevant pedagogy, has also written about culturally relevant approaches to teacher evaluation, 1998. In 2011, I heard him talk about how exams like Praxis have become artificial barriers to teaching. They do not really demonstrate a candidate's ability to teach and prevent strong candidates from entering the profession. Often, these artificial barriers disproportionately affect volunteers of color. Indeed, the concept of standardized testing is deeply rooted in racism and eugenics. Oakes et al. 2018. Louis Terman, the Ivy League professor who developed and advocated intelligence tests in the United States, often used these tests to support his flawed views of children of color. This established a precedent for the use of intelligence tests to prove the inferiority of minority groups. In my state of Virginia, former Gov. Ralph Northam eliminated the Praxis core math exam as an entry requirement for teacher education programs starting in 2021. And enrollment in my program at Old Dominion University in Norfolk has increased dramatically. Found, however, the issue of licensing candidates during teacher shortages remains. Artificial barriers, such as content area Praxis requirements, as well as standardized literacy assessments, are real and difficult barriers. The latter is particularly problematic given that Standard English is a construct that considers the linguistic patterns of white middle and upper-class communities as the norm and other linguistic patterns as deviant and inaccurate. Baker Bell, 2020. Participation in these tests is a financial burden for teacher candidates. The Praxis subject test costs $130, and the Virginia Literacy Test costs up to $130, $50 for registration and $40 for each subtest. The EdPA, another assessment used in teacher preparation programs, costs $300. If candidates fail these exams, they must continue to pay until they pass, and some never pass. My institution has established a scholarship fund to help reduce these barriers for teacher candidates. Considering the effects of these tests on promising candidates, we must ask, what do these tests actually measure? Performance in teacher preparation programs has been shown to be a better indicator of teacher performance than test scores. Jerome Villagostino and Sonia J. Powers 2009 concluded from their research in this area that exams should be given less weight in licensing, and GPA letters should be given more weight. It seems important to consider all evidence of a candidate's performance, including their work in teacher preparation programs, rather than letting exams be the final decider. States should also consider re-evaluating reduced scores on their exams to ensure that they do not prevent good candidates from obtaining licensure. Policy obstacles at different levels. Standardized testing is only an artificial barrier to teaching. As a teacher education program manager, I often find obstacles at every level. Each local school district has different requirements and standards for candidates with emergency licenses. And some of my candidates choose to teach with emergency licenses while completing their programs. This creates challenges for coordinating required field experiences at the state and university level and, at times, forces candidates to leave the program even if they continue to teach with emergency licensure. Federal policy on financial aid changed in the summer of 2022, and my candidates can no longer use graduate financial aid to pay for the undergraduate courses they must take to become licensed. These courses are not required for graduation from the program, but are prerequisites for licensure. Some of my candidates have even been denied personal loans for these courses. These financial aid complications affect us disproportionately. Generation candidates and teacher candidates of color. Putman et al. 2016. The very students I serve. Teacher residency programs have mitigated this issue by funding candidates, and other districts have started to pay candidates as substitute teachers. More avenues for funding are needed to support teacher candidates in completing teacher preparation programs. Indeed, teacher residencies have been successful in diversifying the teacher workforce. Pape et al. 2012, in part because they eliminate financial barriers, keeping good teachers out. A principal I work with told me that last year, out of the 22 teachers he hired, only 2 were licensed. The rest had content area bachelor's degrees and were teaching on emergency licenses. Some of these candidates may never be able to earn their licenses because of the artificial barriers in place at every level. Although numerous changes to the teacher workforce are needed to retain teachers, I encourage states and the federal government to rethink the barriers they put in place that prevent many talented candidates who reflect the experiences and identities of public school children from ever entering the teacher workforce, like the candidate in my opening anecdote.
To be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby, have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no, you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe.
What's wrong and why you never said you felt that way? Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long.